Creepy historical photos that make you shudder. Modern people are used to different screamers in horror movies or horror games. Creepy characters that suddenly appear in order to scare a person. But a real human story can scare you much more, at least because many scary stories were reality, not fiction. Some of these photos are scary in themselves, and some look relatively normal at first glance. However, once you learn their story, you will begin to be gripped by a sticky feeling of horror and disgust. A message from the killer at the crime scene. In December 1945, the police entered the apartment of Frances Brown, a divorced 32-year-old American woman. The maid reported that loud radio sounds were coming from behind the ajar front door, which seemed suspicious to the woman. Inside, the police found Frances herself, brutally murdered with a knife sticking out of her back. A message was written in lipstick on the wall. For God's sake, catch me before I kill again. I can't control myself. As it turned out, the crime was committed by 17-year-old American William George Herenz. Unfortunately, Frances was not his first and not the last victim. Because of the message written on the wall in Frances Brown's apartment, he became known as their lipstick killer. In 1946, he was caught and sent to prison after confessing, but during the investigation of the murders, several inconsistencies surfaced. Heren's words contradicted the real facts. In this regard, a theory arose that the young man was forced to confess to murders that he did not commit. William George Herenz managed to avoid the electric chair in exchange for a life sentence. He died in 2012 at the age of 83. Duchenne de Boulogne experiments. Between 1854 and 1856, French neurologist Guillaume Benjamin Armand Duchenne de Boulogne conducted a series of electrophysiological experiments to evaluate how facial muscles form different expressions. For his research, he used inhumane methods. He tied up unfortunate patients and used electric shocks on them to obtain the necessary data. Vintage Halloween costume. This vintage Halloween costume was discovered on a farm in Camp Dix, New Jersey, USA in 1917. Undoubtedly, he causes some kind of primal fear and definitely looks more terrible than a ghost from a sheet. The cell where the Salem witches were held. This makeshift prison cell is indeed a symbol of the horrors that befell the Salem witches. It was in such cells that the accused women spent their last moments before their execution. Between 1692 and 1693, more than 200 people were accused of witchcraft, and 19 of those found guilty were sentenced to death. Merchants selling human flesh. This photo shows a couple living in Samar province. During the famine in the winter of 1921, they were forced to sell human remains on the market. At that time, the country was gripped by a devastating famine that eventually killed 5 million people. In such conditions, people were willing to do anything for the sake of survival. The last portrait of the Lawson family. This photo looks like an ordinary family portrait. And everything would have been fine if it weren't for the fact that this picture was taken just a few days before the father of the family, patriarch Charlie Lawson, second from right, killed all his relatives depicted in the photo on Christmas Day 1929. Only 16-year-old Arthur, left, managed to escape. The Mad Bomber by George Metesky. Between 1940 and 1956, George Metesky, nicknamed the Mad Bomber, terrorized New York City by planting bombs in public places. He is responsible for more than 30 explosions that injured 15 people. At the same time, Metesky did not just plant bombs. He wrote mocking letters to local newspapers until 1957, when he was arrested and placed in a psychiatric hospital. Gloves made of human skin. The murders of American serial killer Ed Gein in the mid-1950s were so horrific that they formed the basis for horror films such as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Psycho. A man from Plainfield, Wisconsin, robbed graves. killed innocent women and made furniture and clothes from their body parts. Moreover, they found out about this only after his arrest in 1957, when the police searched his house and found mutilated bodies, bowls made of skulls, a lampshade made of a human face and gloves made of human skin. The last photo of a Papua New Guinea explorer. This photo shows Michael Rockefeller, who was the son of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, who later became Vice President of the United States. In principle, Michael had everything, but his soul demanded adventure, and in the early 1960s the young man went on an expedition to Papua New Guinea. But the locals turned out to be not very friendly. Representatives of the Papuan Asmat people are famous cannibals, so after a fun ritual they beheaded and ate the unfortunate Michael Rockefeller.